Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Deb Holland and we are back at the absolutely awesome Lake Superior to continue with our teaching series from my book, Leaders, My Leaders, Your Journey to Awesomeness. So today we're going to start a three-part series about the art of consequences, and I'm taking so much time for this section because this is the difference maker between leaders and everybody else. If you are not willing or if you are not allowed to implement consequences, your leadership is just absolutely constrained. You might as well be tethered with a chain to a pole out in the backyard because you're only going to get so far. The art of consequences is where leadership makes you or breaks you. So let's get started. It's impossible to have an authentically healthy workplace when people are allowed to not produce or when they are allowed to act in disruptive ways. It is exceedingly unfair to the rest of the team, and it just absolutely tanks morale. It begins swirling the bowl, and just like the Tidy Bowl man, it is headed down, and that is not a good thing. Everybody needs to pull their own weight, and we've talked in previous videos about if the minimum for your company is 10 widgets and Johnny can do 10 widgets, he's working at max capacity, so he's okay. You don't need to bother him about anything. And if Susie is capable of 15 widgets, she's hitting the minimum, and she's also hitting her personal minimum, so she's good too. So you can pretty much leave her alone. But if you've got Tommy over there and he's screwing around all day and half the day he's on the internet and on his phone and Facebook and messing around, and he's producing 2 widgets, you got to deal with Tommy. There's just no other way. And if you don't deal with Tommy, you're going to absolutely demoralize Susie, your high performer, and you are also going to completely tick off your guy that is doing 10 a day. So you have to deal with your problem children. That is the heart of leadership. Same thing for disruptive behavior. I don't care if somebody is a rock star and they're producing 50 widgets a day when the minimum is 10. Do not allow disruptive behavior. And what do I mean by disruptive behavior? How am I defining that? I'm not talking about the occasional bad day. I'm not talking about the occasional one person snips at another because they're too frustrated or too hungry, too tired, whatever the case may be. And I'm also not talking about people who are going through a genuine stretch of hardship in their own life, if they're caring for a sick parent or if one of their children is having issues of some kind. And so they're under a lot of stress outside the workplace, but inside the workplace they're managing to keep it together enough to keep functioning. I'm not talking about those scenarios. What I'm talking about is people that deliberately have obnoxious behavior, unruly behavior, loud, profane behavior, and they are deliberately stirring up trouble. They come to work to get some sort of dysfunctional emotional need met. They do not come to work to earn a paycheck. They certainly do not come to work to help contribute to the mission or to be a healthy part of a team. So when you have one of those individuals that is behaving disruptively, it is critically important that you deal with them with the same strength that you would deal with Tommy, who is producing 2 widgets a day when the minimum is 10. Same thing. It's like a balancing scale. You have got productivity problems and you've got behavioral problems. You're going to have to deal with both. If that is making you squeamish as you're sitting here watching this, if you're saying to yourself the alarm bells are going off in your head that you don't want to deal with that, we've talked about this before. You are going to have to find a way to get comfortable with conflict and find a way to get comfortable with dealing with problems, because that is the job. Leaders are paid to make tough decisions, have difficult conversations, and deal with people. People need to learn in your workplace, the culture, the productivity, none of it will improve until people learn that choices have consequences. I'm going to say that again because it is so simple, but it is so profoundly important in the work environment. Choices have consequences. And if people are choosing to give the middle finger to healthy cultural values, and if they're choosing to give the middle finger to productivity requirements that they knew about when they took the job or shortly thereafter when their position was explained to them, then it's not okay for them to just shirk those responsibilities. They need to learn that when they choose to violate the rules, there is going to be a swift, appropriate, fair consequence that is just implemented for them immediately. That's the only way they're going to learn, and it's the only way everybody else is going to learn that, hey, guess what? We are actually going to be held accountable here. It's your job to protect the team, and this can be one of the scariest, most grueling, most harrowing parts of leadership, is that you have to protect the team. That means ultimately, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, if you have to sacrifice yourself for the team, that may be what you need to do. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you may have to be the one to go and fight the fights at the higher levels so that you can protect the team. You may have to be the one to go upstream and deliver very unpleasant, if not outright ugly information that people really don't want to hear. You need to be the one to step up and step out as a leader and take the hits for the team by doing what they do not possess the authority to do. You have to speak up, you have to find your voice, you have to fight for them. And your goal in anything with the art of consequences is deceptively simple. It is to correct the behavior. It is not to crush the person. It is to correct the behavior. So what do you need to do to correct that behavior that is reasonable, that's appropriate to whatever violation occurred? You need to banish excuses, and you need to demand better from your people, and you need to require acceptable behavior. Do not be a weak leader who gets a reputation as someone who just lets anything goes, and what's going to happen is you're going to have toxic people rise up, and they're going to fill that leadership vacuum, and they're going to take over your culture, and they're going to be subtly running things from behind the scenes, and they are going to be not so subtly ruining things overtly and covertly. And if you're not going to step up and be the leader, then just get out of your chair, go down the hall, take a regular job, and be a worker among workers, because leaders need to be the ones to keep control of the work environment. That does not mean that you become a dictator or a tyrant and you stomp around trying to get your way. It means that you keep healthy control of the work environment, and you do that primarily through the art of consequences. And we've talked before about it does the problem individual a complete disservice to let them get away with nonsense, because what they learn is that, hey, if I can push this limit and I can get away with this, and what I really want to accomplish is way down there, I'm just going to keep creeping this way with my nonsense until they stop me. And if you never stop them, they're going to end up over there, and you're going to have some sort of really bad stuff break out in your organization. And God forbid, workplace violence is a huge thing these days. And when you see someone who displays signs of troubled behavior, you need to stop it here and not hope that somewhere between here and there somebody else does something. Why? Again, you are the leader. You need to put a stop to it. So that's enough for today. We're going to continue on next week with this 3-part series of the art of consequences, because this is really the heart of what leaders are paid to do. So in the meantime, come on over, join me on my website, debhollandlcsw.com. Link to my Facebook page from there. I have great content for you guys every single day. I'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks for joining me today.